Hi, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Granddaughter Croak, the founding CEO of the Eagle Heart Foundation, and I am here with Alanna, and she is the vice president of our board of directors for the Eagle Heart Foundation. And we're just kind of doing a little bit of chat work around different magical items. And this one, we're going to talk about journals and journal dedication and why you work with journals, what you can do with journals, why they may work for you to move through things and situations, why you can have more than one simultaneously going on. So with journals, the first thing that I want to say is that I used to journal in a spiral notebook that you can get, and with just whatever pen I have in my site, and I would just journal, journal, journal. And one day I walked into the shop, and so like I'm looking at like $1.50, right? And then one day I walked into the shop and I'm like, should I spend the money on that beautiful journal? And I had to kind of choke myself up. I was like, are my words worth writing in a special book? That was a real healing time for me. So I've been buying magical, beautiful journals this whole time now, and I'm just like, oh, this is so special. Alanna has a way to kind of get the best of both worlds if you're on a budget. So and or if you need a lot more space because you need a big, spiral notebook. So Alanna, talk to us a little bit about journals in general and just like your makeshift one. I love that.
I think every witch can kind of agree it's really nice to have something where we keep our workings, our meditations, our spells, anything like that. And in this digital age, if you're a witch who's really on the go and maybe you lose physical journals really easily for whatever reason, like you leave them places, but you're always on your phone, if you have access to Google Docs, you can have a Google Doc as your magical journal. That's totally fine. Nobody necessarily has to have a physical journal. If you're somebody like me who's really tactile and can't stand e-readers because they don't smell or feel like books and you want a tangible thing, if you're on a budget, this is a like $5 notebook from, I want to say, Office Depot. It's like a 5 subject notebook, and I just glued a piece of watercolor paper to it and I painted it. And this is my book of divination. I do a lot of different divinatory mediums, I guess I could say. And so for this, it's just a journal that I dressed up a little bit that has a lot of different ruminations on tarot, oracle, scrying, runes, all the kind of stuff that I work with, and anything that I come across that I'm just like, oh wow, I want to know more about that, like playing card divination, anything like that. So that's just kind of my journal for that particular subject, and it's super easy, and it's a great little reference book for me too.
I love it. I love it. So different effects for journaling and why people encourage journaling, not just in a metaphysical community, but like a lot of classes, homework, the educational system will ask certain people to keep journals. I think that it's just also like psychology, all of that, keeping journals. And what I have found is there's a lot of benefit from it, but what it helps for me to do is get to know my own authentic voice, because a lot of times, with a busy world, people are coming at us and we're like, okay, you want me to talk with you about this? Okay, you want me to talk with you about this? And then there comes a moment where you're like, what do I want to talk about with me? And that's when you can just, journal and you start coming out with your own authenticity. So why is journaling, like, what is the importance of journaling? Do you see, Alanna?
I feel like journaling is a really good way to connect to oneself as well as the ancestors or deities or really any kind of energy that we are trying to work with. It can help you recognize patterns if you keep a dream journal and you journal about your day before you go to sleep. And then when you have a dream, you jot it down. And so all of a sudden you can be like, oh yeah, every time I have that meeting coming up with Dave, I get panicky because Dave never likes my ideas. And then I always have this weird stress dream. You might not necessarily realize that if you're only having those meetings, 2 or 3 times a year. But then when you have the journal and you can go back, you can be like, oh, now I see what's going on. So journaling for dreams, journaling after meditations, journaling experiences in nature, anything like that is just a really good way to be able to reflect on yourself, the world around you, and just kind of the energies that you're feeling on a regular basis.
I love it. And I love that point that, that I once saw a pattern, where I would have a question, an esoteric question, like, I don't know, why is the sky blue or something, whatever. And I'd write it in my journal, and then I just keep free flowing. And, every day I'd meditate, and then I just journal and meditate and journal. It's kind of like rinsing yourself through. And then I started reading back through my journal and recognizing that the question would get an answer a few pages later by me having some sort of an encounter or phenomenon. So it was kind of like I was asking questions. I wasn't expecting to write the answer, which maybe that might happen, but I was just like, maybe a few days later, it's like, oh, wow, it was really interesting because, maybe the ocean is reflected in the sky and we're seeing blue. And, I don't know if that's true or scientific. I'm making the stuff up on the fly, but at the end of the day, it was seeing a pattern and also being able to answer questions. I love that. So you can have like a dream journal going on. You could have a journal to your ancestors. You could have a journal to your workings. You could have a journal dedicated to certain things, or you can put it all in one, whatever works best for you. I like that. So
Absolutely.
when a journal is kind of like Dear Diary. And a lot of times, because some people would have kept diaries, locked diaries, wanting to keep their words secret and sacred. I want to talk about that a little bit too. Like, how do you dedicate it and how do you keep it secret and sacred? I have one of my journals, and this is the first page, and this is how I did it because I was afraid that, my words would be used against me if certain people found the journal or whatever. And so, because sometimes people like to use your words against you, and they like to snoop. And so I wrote this, let me see, just on the front page. And I drew an eye. And so it's kind of spooky. If you open up this journal, you're like, ah, somebody's watching me. And then it says, these words herein are mine alone, fashioned deep inside my bones. Each picture, thought, poem you see are all a reflection of what's within me. And then it says, let me see here, beware the urge to take this book or read it in a secret nook, because it's not blind, and I will know if you have seen what is mine, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of witchy. I think I might have even got that out of a book. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I might have got information out of the Solitary Witch, written by Raven Wolf, Silver Wolf,
Silver Ravenwolf.
Silver Ravenwolf. Yes, love that book. So anyway, sometimes if you have a nervousness, that alone will scare people away.
Especially non-magical people. The second magical stuff starts happening, they're like, nope, I want nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Another reason to dedicate a journal is to set your intention for it, which I find to be really helpful. When you set intention for something, it gives you a little bit of motivation to do it on a more regular basis. So maybe you're one of those witches who's like, I really want to do more meditations. Having a meditation journal that's specifically dedicated to recording your experiences with meditation will probably help you build that habit more. And there's no right or wrong way to dedicate a journal. You can write a prayer. If you found something in a book that you thought was really profound or great, you can write that. I think my original book of shadows, I had, I think it was the first 2 or 3 pages of the journal are the entire Wiccan read of by the perfect law you must, and by the sacred law you must, in perfect faith and perfect trust. And so I found like the whole thing that is like 7 sonnets long. It's nuts. And I put it in there, and I had my little journal that I had. And I also, last year, I found a book by Sky Alexander called Your Goddess Year, where it's a goddess a week. So it's 52 goddesses from around the world. And I found that and I was like, this sounds freaking awesome. So I'm going to use that. And I found this journal and I just absolutely loved it. It felt like very regal and etheric, just like so many goddesses are. And so on the first day that I did it, I put the date, and basically what I wrote is as follows. This journal is dedicated to working with the energy of the feminine divine. Goddesses and their wisdom will be recorded on these pages, along with reflections on my workings, rituals, meditations, and revelations while working with them. I hope to honor each goddess and learn as much as possible from them so that I can pass this wisdom on to those who need it. As she walks, so do I walk, through shadow and through light, be it cold and misty forest or dark and stormy night. She is the light within me, shining like the sun. I will reflect her kindness as the moon reflects the sun. As she speaks, so do I speak, with words like gentle rain. The goddess walks beside me and brings me home again.
I love that. That's absolutely powerful. That's so powerful. And I love that you dedicated a journal to that reflects that same energy and aligns with that intention. I love it. So is there anything else that you would like to share about journaling?
I think one of the really cool things about journaling is being able to go back through and look at it like you were saying, where you would ask a question and then a few days later you'd be like, oh, that answers my other question. It also, in this particular journal, whenever I was working with the goddesses, I would write down what moon phase I was in as well for working with it. So if I decide to do this again, and as we move through the year, the moon phase is never going to be the same week to week. So I might have worked with one goddess when the moon was waning versus when it's waxing, and that energy is going to change completely. So that'll be kind of an exercise to see how different that energy feels when it is that. And also just kind of really interesting to go back and kind of look at the dates and be like, oh yeah, I totally forgot that Sedna had come to me in that meditation and I did X, Y, and Z. And then all of a sudden stuff started really working out for me because I had asked her for help and it worked. It was just a really, really cool experience. And also this is something that if I'm ever feeling like I might be stuck in a rut or anything like that, I can always go back and pick a goddess that it looks like really, really helped me and maybe ask them for more assistance later on and do a little bit more research.
I love that. I love that. Absolutely love that. So if you guys have any other ideas with regards to journals, please feel free to put them in the comments. And if there is any other topic that you would like to hear about, let us know and we will get back on here and do another quick video. Thank you so much.
Thanks.